think I remember meeting him around 98 thereabouts, and I was still very young then, and I met him through social circles. In fact, I met him through his daughter, Nani. She was a friend of a friend who kept me mother of my kids. And that's how we met. That was way back then, 98 thereabouts. And since then, because he's been a leader, we've always been around him. But we got closer, much closer, around 2003 thereabouts, when he left the office of the Prime Minister for the President. Yeah.
That's right. And what are some of the memorable moments of those meetings?
Memorable moments. Yeah, there's so many. What's memorable to me may not be memorable to others. Is the simple things. Andrade was a very simple name. He was a man full of life, very young, a heart, a spirit, otherwise. And the memorable moments to me were, long conversations we had, whether it's about debating which football is the best, because we supported different teams, or whether it's us speaking of Sierra or traveling, just spending many hours together, stepping into his wisdom, or him trying to understand how we see life. Those things are more important to me as a human being. But for purposes of this exercise, probably there are other standouts, like what comes to mind are things like when the house I live in now. For example, when I decided to house hunt, he came around with me, and with this particular one, we went to view it together, and I found that to be very memorable, because it's very rare to find people of his stature and spending like the kind of time to come around with me for something that was dear to me, all important work, and then many other memorable moments. I wouldn't know where to start, where to end.
It's like saying by that time, you talk of the late 1990s, beginning of the 2000s, is the negative quality. But the audience that is playing is being different.
Look, he had come from being high up there, being a prime minister, and then for whatever reason he was released of that responsibility. And he was also advancing in age, and for an unsuspecting someone like me who was just with an uncle, it was an honor to be with. I didn't see, nor did I understand that it would be in anyone's mind for him to want to be a president. But as they say, you can never say the negative in absolute. And initially, those dreams weren't present. But I think as we progressed, because remember he had left the country and he came back. And when he came back, at least in my view, what I could observe, there were few things. And the few that were there, people like, I remember people like Johan Jarungulu, who we used to call him Inspector, who went on to become the president's man, the commissioner in Bahrain. Remember people like Lazarus Jacob, remember people like Mount Kati, remember people like Eric Mukino, the minister of so many other portfolios. I remember people like the late Niki Yambo, now, gentlemen like John Nauta, John Walenga, Eveno, Felix Veno, Peter Mutaine, Clara Oltile, Donna Gashini, remember people like Milka Mugunda, and many others. So those are the people who I saw almost frequently, and many of them aren't or weren't political players. They were just people who, I guess, now I know, cared for him, and they were around for whatever reason, just to keep company, conversation, and I believe they had their individual relationships with him. That's why they were around. So there was nothing that would indicate that there's a formidable force that could lead to him repackaging himself back into politics to the extent he would become president. But yeah, the state would have it. Like he would always say, what God wants for you, no man shall change. So we are here now, in the president.
Okay, because the big part of it, when you get to the intimate moment, the private conversation, what exactly is shifted when it seems to have fallen out of favor out of power was the teacher, was the angry individual?
No, not at all. I didn't see anger in him. He never expressed anger. Obviously, as a human being, there were signs of regret. Whether that regret was because of his actions or actions of others, but there I saw a little bit of regret here and there, but he was never angry. Nor did he feel like he was hard done by. In fact, he celebrated the fact that we often used to say by then he had been Prime Minister 3 times. And he often tells the story, I wasn't there, but he often tells the story that when he was relieved, colleagues came to the house and when there were those who were advocating that he use his political leverage or equity to mount resistance of some kind. And in his own words, he wouldn't do that because the appointing authority then, who was the founding president, to him, the founding president is his father, mentor, and most things to him. So I just saw appreciation. And the fact that the job was also starting to cost him his health. I think that was the only time that I had observed that he was often talking about how his high blood pressure was at levels that could be rescued. And he was kind of relieved that pressure was off his back. But you must understand the gentleman is a very self-confident, very courageous, resilient person. He has a strong sense of self-belief. And he always believed that there's always something else to do. When one door closes, he was always awake to the fact that the next door, one must not be blind to see the next door opening. So that's the type of gentleman he was. In fact, we went to Washington and he took up a job there, and when he left, he wrote a letter to the founding president, basically asking for permission and blessings, which I believe he got. And I think the Observer has a copy of that letter. So those are not actions of somebody who was bitter and any of the like. But you must understand that our environment is such when such things happen between elephants, us the little ones always wants to stoke up things. And there were articles written, political experts pronounce themselves instigating this and the other. But privately, I knew that he loved SWAPO very much, and he couldn't do anything that could be of any harm to his organization, nor do anything that could be seen in such fashion against the authority then, which was the founding president and the collective leadership of SWAPO.
And the founding president that the people that celebrated his downfall, and the people that thought this is the end.
Of course, Calvin. One would be naive to think that that wasn't the case. I didn't particularly see people do that, and I don't think people would do that in public, but in private, it's human nature that people will react. Some will react in favor, some will react against, but nothing new. It's not the only one to have fallen out of, he hasn't fallen out of anything anyway. He was just relieved from that duty, and there was another duty that he was assigned to. And consequently, he's also come back to get other responsibilities. We took them on, so, but yes, there were political competitors who may have seen that there's an opportunity for them to shine. It's natural, it's expected, it should be the case.
That's right. And we'd have to come to that point, try to see what his thinking was, because the assumption out there, the narrative that he took some of those that were quite bad to us, the people he don't carry. But you talk about the repackaging, and before that, it comes back to Namibia. We also say, you actually mentioned a few of them. Did President Geingob about the time when he came from the US, maybe he did have times because they are records that say he paid for it?
No, look, I wasn't privy to his financial situation or capability or capacity, but as an uncle and a friend, a really good friend, I must say, a good uncle to me, I did not avail myself around him to assess how good or bad his financial situation was. I can also not remember particularly having been the one to have paid his water bills. If you go to the records, there has been exchange of things between him and I and other people. It was not odd for me to get money from him or the other way around, or for him to pay for a bill or a plane for us to go somewhere or a hotel for us to sleep. It wouldn't have been odd. That's how deep it was. So I don't like this thing that people try to make it seem like he was down and out to the extent that he couldn't pay his electricity bill. Even if he wasn't, he wouldn't have been the first one. Today, if you go to the municipality, to be honest, I'll pay him for a month, and I'm hassling to settle it. So, but in this particular case, what I know is it's not that he wasn't in a position to pay. What had happened was because it was the first that a sitting prime minister or a former prime minister had left office. And I think because these gentlemen were part of was part of the formation of the state, I think the state procedures and processes did not anticipate that day. Being in office, the situation made me understand that he was entitled to the state looking after him, and also retiring, there are certain things you take home with. And he must have been under the now mistaken belief that the state had the obligation to pay for these things even after office. It was later cleared, and as children of home, we did what we needed to do, including himself, to get that burden out of the way. And the municipality needed the money for them to have the capacity to supply you with the water and electricity that you also needed. So it wasn't a situation like he was down and out and he wasn't unable to pay for his water and electricity. So that's not how I saw it. By the way, when he decided to come back from the United States and be home. We tried a little bit of business. I remember we started a company called Geingob Consultancy. And he could, this is a man of many abilities. He could hustle for himself, and he made a living for him and his family. So I think my advice would be for us not to make an elephant out of ants here. It was a mere 300,000. Amongst himself and those around him, including myself, 300K was nothing to write home about it. So let's get to the serious things.
Okay, let's talk about the preparation now for real political business beyond the prime ministerial task, beyond the immigration to the U.S. You were quite instrumental, part of the inner circle around the campaign for President Geingob to get the position of the Vice President. Take us through that time.
You know, again, I think most of you have around or understanding of who Hajo really was. Hajo was, in my view, in our observation, in our study have taken view. The gentleman was probably one of the most prepared political scientists Namibia has ever seen. He was a political enemy, somebody who understood the science of politics. He also understood humankind. He knew what was best for him, for others, and for the country. Him coming back into politics was not a thing of him being around, running around, asking for people to do this and the other. It was a natural process, very organic. I remember what one could call a significant or notable move in terms of political revival, if you want to call it that way, was a move to bring him back as a chief whip of the party. And their colleagues like John Nauta stands out tall because of the role he was playing as a secretary to collect the law and also assistant to the office of the president of Swako. And Angela Hago then was just a member of parliament. And I remember some young lads who were so, who were with uncle, used to refer to him as a big danger, and he took it time to have him. And you know what a big danger is? Those people who sit behind the column of the pillars in parliament that the cameras don't even get to. So, and I think because of his standing in the party and his demeanor, in terms of political demeanor and posture, it was just natural that he would be the person in politics in the party would go to once again ask him to step in. And the likes of you and many other, including you, who were around to offer what they call political functionaries, really just came into something that was already in the making. Credit here might go to the founding president because he was the authority of the party. It's his decision largely whether Andrew could give a vote which led to him being in a position to contest for the position that put him in pole position to be a president. We were good as children of home to assist wherever necessary because it's an obligation to do so. So I wouldn't claim any credit for that. Maybe people like Armas and who was a political functionary and still is, to mind comes people like Commissioner Shanimwa Range, who was governor, and Guinness, the current governor of Nsatu, Vincent Ricoro, and then Saki Shangala, much later Saki Shangala, and many others. I cannot name them all, but I am only mentioning those that come to mind and those that stand out. But those are people who should get better credit than someone like me. My relationship with Uncle was really that of the Uncle nephew. We had a very unique, special way of gelling. I became a political player, territorial, I must say, by default, because he once asked a question when we go through the political speculation probabilities of numbers, because politics is a game of numbers. And he once said that there's nothing special to any political function. It is the will of any one of us to want to be a part. And whoever you are psychoanalyzing and profiling to be the delegate, you yourself can do that. You are a member of SWAPO. Why don't you pick up the responsibility of playing a role in becoming that delegate so that you can at least secure that number? So between him and I, there was always that joke that, okay, at least out of this Congress you will have 2 votes. It's your own and mine. After I had then followed his advice, and I ended up being a delegate to that 2012 Congress. And in that process we were named. People like Amandi. I remember we also tried to support him to become a delegate, which he became, and went on to become a minister. People like the former ambassador, our ambassador in France now, Papso, Lazarus himself, but those, George Simata, but those didn't make it all the way to end the vote that we saw them. So in conclusion on that point, I wouldn't take much credit for what I'm being credited for. Armas then, those guys did a lot.
So the president gets the vice presidential position within some party with an assumption that once you get this position, the path is kept clear for you for the presidency there. Was it obvious for you then that with your uncle now and the deputy within the party, the vote is clear for him towards the presidency? Will it make it clear for you that nephew, we are heading to the airport?
Are you talking about you assume you're talking about the critical process? Remember, he was first elected as not elected but appointed as chief whip. Chief whip, you know the business of the chief whip. And then after that, he was again appointed. The final problem is member of Politburo. He wasn't in Politburo. The Congress of 2002, 2002 winner, he did not make it to be a member of Politburo. It was only up to Central Committee. And those appointments led to him being nominated by the president, as the vice president in 2007 to deputize President Geingob. In that, there was no contestation when he became, so it's all through his appointments and the party believing that he was the most suitable and most capable. And that's the first thing. So he concluded the first thing. And it's the second thing, last thing, which was renewed in 2012. And that's the Congress law that he was contested by among the other colleagues. And that's when it became clear that whoever wins that Congress is going to be the candidate for the presidency of the country, because President Geingob had said his full independence and the limitations of the state were taken effect. So the stakes were high in that regard. So then we also began to realize and understand what the stakes were, and obviously it's a young man with my uncle facing the prospect of possibility of becoming president. It was exciting. And that's maybe when you saw us coming out to see to it that thing was seen. And that's more when we began to see that we too have been very well prepared in playing a part in such processes. But all credit must go to the preparation. Remember that, like, for example, I just come from, graduated from the street, you know. I am from the street, that's my background. I used to be a hustler, and he, that's also one memorable thing that I can think of. Despite all of that, you know, the connotation that we attach to people who pride themselves being from the street, we have this connotation that they are no good at this and that. But he saw beyond. He saw humanity and capacity and talent in whatever that was. I remember, fast forward, and I'm going to come back to the question between both. Remember after then, he had gone on to become somebody again, getting titles again, because earlier he was just a former most things, no title, just a normal anchor. There was an issue, I'm a clubber. I like to be up and about, you know, enjoy the nightlife. And there was this one time I was out and he asked where I was. And he said I was where I was, so he said, no, I want to come back. So he came and he joined me at the Paris Lounge. It's a nice spot, I don't know if you know. And after that, people made a lot out of it. And I started feeling like, damn, I may be hating the chances of my uncle to continue to appreciate in political value. So I asked Lazarus to come with me, and we went to him and said, look, uncle, this thing is too much talk about how your circles and what's desired for what you may become again. And before we even finished, he said, what? And I told him, saying what? No, nobody chooses my dream. I don't care. I don't have to be a president. I've been a prime minister 3 times. I fought for this country. You are my children. Now must I forsake you for the sake of other people? Who are those people? You know? And he said, you know what, next weekend, we must go back to it. We went back. And then, the story started dying, and that's how for you. It's just one of those memorable things I wanted to share with you before I forget. So, back to the issue of whether I knew he was going to be president. Of course, when he was prime minister, not prime minister, but vice president once, and he was eligible for vice president twice, and succeeding in being vice president twice would escalate him or promote him to the office of the presidency if he wins the general elections. I knew, I was excited about it. It was a good space and place to be in, and I'm extremely proud of the fact that we have played, or I've been afforded an opportunity to play a role in that process. That process has shaped me as a human being. It has made me a better person. It has made me more resilient. And I am best prepared even to be a president of this country. I don't think there are many of my generation who can come close to my kind of preparation. And I'm not saying me alone. Like I said to you, there were many around Uncle, and there were many after us around him. They can also claim the same, which is a good thing, because the more of us in Namibia that believes we can, the better Namibia is. But certainly for Desmond Amunyela, I believe I'm the best prepared for that job very soon. And I even indicated this in one of the SWAPO conferences where the president Geingob had asked for people to indicate those who were desirous and believed they could. And I did say that. And I think they've taken note. And that day shall come. Mark this statement.
Very, very interesting this. And so, the vice president of the Conservative Party ultimately becomes the president of the party.
Yes.
In our reports that you constituted what was called the transitional council that was there to make sure that there is a proper transition in terms of systems, between the presidency. Take us through that.
Look, once again, you gotta go back to the President Geingob as a human being, and you have to go back to the kind of friendship or relationship we have. Age is not a joker. Like, he doesn't get involved with people just for the mere sake of it. He believes that everyone he gets in touch with has an ability and they are capable. Whether old or young, male or female, if he picks on you, it's because he believes you can. Now, obviously, when you are with him, and I said to you that we have had so many endless hours of the day. I tell you, or I kid you not, during that time, I dare say there was probably no day we have not been in touch with her. Physically meeting or speaking on the phone or texting, that's how close we were. So it's therefore then natural or organic that we would share ideas, and we are people with minds, and we will have ideas. Because he also comes from the background that he became what he is largely because Senoma believed in the young. He often tells the story of how the old man gave him what he calls the trio, the opportunity at a tender age to look after very important processes that had to do with bringing about the independence of Namibia or the self-determination of the Namibian people. And you know what that struggle was like. So, yes, there were conversations, and because we were allowed to be part of the discussions, we had views, and those views, they were influenced things that you call the vice president, but to be specific, that concept was brought about first, I heard it first from the late Kabenambo. Kabenambo was the one who, for whatever reason, good or bad, he thought Namibia should be more reflective in terms of its national character. And he was hard on trying to get Anglo to buy into the idea of, in fact, the original idea was 4 vice president 1 to 4. And where perhaps one could say I may have played, me and others may have played a role is when I advised or I suggested that maybe best that we do not do the 4 vice presidents, because who would put where, and what would it mean for vice president 4 when there's vice president 1, 2, and 3? And we suggested then that maybe for the purpose of reflecting character of the nation and identity, we should rather consider the 4 top government positions, including the vice president, to achieve that much. Because Angel is a person who believes in the unity of the state and everybody being a part in this Namibia house. He really needed to do something that is reflective of that rhetoric.
And only taking this coming there. There is an assumption that the concept of the vice president introduced in the Kenyan president had it for the first time in Clinton.
No, it didn't come from me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It came from, as far as I remember, it was the idea of late Kabenambo. I may have just been a fan of the idea, or I may have maybe repeated it more often than most. That people are accrediting, or I don't know whether some people accredit, but the people are presuming that I was. No, I wasn't. I just supported an idea that was brought about by others. And obviously I gave my thoughts, and Andrew was kind enough to take some in, like he would do other people's ideas.
So for in this circle now, around the community of the most powerful office of the man, the hustler, the man from the street, when you get the man from the street, the hustler. Did you begin to feel a sense of power and supremacy within you?
Power. I'm self-made man. Self-made in the sense that I'm a raised child. I wasn't raised by my parents, I was raised by uncles and community members. So I have always believed in unity. I know that. So power to me does not come in the way that it register itself in the expression, because I've never felt powerless. So therefore, although it felt good, it felt elevating to be around this giant, basically by his feet. It felt really good, and I'm sure it would elevate my profile, which I'm grateful for. But I never felt powerless to feel powerful. It needed the point.
Let's go to Brazil. There was a lot of media noise about knowledge cards with yourself and the records that are there that you paid for it to go and watch the World Cup there, and the feeling that came from public opinion that you were feeling these favors to the president in order to also have your backs scratched. Take a look.
It's unfortunate, NRD is no longer here. If you were to have records of NRD as frequent flyer, I would be amongst those. You go to other airlines that exist today. There's a few that would recognize me as a frequent flyer. You go to GATS, government air transport services. At some point I was their number one consumer of their services. They were allowed to fly private. So that particular trip or that particular flight was just one of those normal things you do. Not breaking, it's really just what it was. I didn't quite understand why that would stand out, because I have flown more times in either delegations of President Geingob. I have flown in planes where he was paid them, and I've never heard somebody say, because you are part of his delegation of flight that he's paying for, you are only to get favors. It's few times that I get to be responsible for the cost of the plane. It's seen as buying favors. But in hindsight now, the stay left us while very close to the end of his stay. And you have not seen or heard me when asked for favors. In fact, I had said to him, I said that in text, everybody for the video, it's best that I stay away from Stephen. We try and link up with him before after the things, and I kept it. That's why you've never seen me. And I couldn't try everything. There was enough effort for me to get him to feel some type of way to have me around. But it was a conscious decision because of those very reasons, and because of the confidence and the belief that we are self-made. We are not made by the system. The system assists, but it doesn't make us. We are who we are because of ourselves, our beliefs, and we believe in our beliefs. states in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, without knowing that, without the politicians in the government. Why wouldn't that be not a better interest than Uncle B passing the number one on my flight?
So the record that you also part of the delegation of the government and the president to the trip that you made to China, where the president were told opened the door and invited you to be part of this very high forum.
He was not the president, but he was, I think, president-elect or prime minister, second time around, one of the two.
Yes.
But what it was is why that trip was of interest to me was because when he was invited to go to China by the Chinese after the 2012 Congress to take some rest, and that's why that trip included a week in Sanya. Sanya is a resort town in south of China. And that's originally where we were supposed to be going. And as he asked that we go in, because we had just come out of a very important process that produced victory. Right? And we wanted to just go and go. But simultaneously, there was also China, Africa, something taking place, and the authorities proven that not going to the president go. And because he was invited, I think at the cost of the Chinese, the authorities what financially proven that he goes and represent everybody. And we already had these plans and makeup in terms of what this trip is about and who is to be with him. And I think the embassy in China, the embassy in China did what they supposed to have done to prepare for coming and organize and arrange for local cases that the hosting are approaching. So they then, because it was these two trips, this trip now became merged to the official one. There were ministers and other people in government who were going, so the embassy lined them up in accordance. But when we got there, they briefed me in terms of what I'm also that is about. By the way, it wasn't just me, it was me, Kati, the Armas, and Saki Chanda. The second person was